Good evening and welcome to another edition of Camp Delta. We're here at day 2 as the offensive linemen are taking place just behind us. They're working on some drills. We're going to focus on the trenches today. That's right, the offensive and defensive lines. Guys you don't really notice on the field, but James, just talk about this offensive line unit. They're in their second year under this offense, another year experience. Got a lot of guys coming back. Just what's the key to Joel Williams' offensive line this year?
Well, the key is going to be that we have 10 deep, 2 at each position, averaging 310 pounds. They all can play multiple positions. They're all in great shape. Even the guys who are a little bit heavier weight on the scale, they can move. We're going to be able to keep that up-tempo offense going. If someone gets hurt, someone needs a spell for a breather, next man in, and the offense won't miss a beat.
Just talk about how unique this offensive line is to kind of combat this high-tempo offense. It's not something offensive linemen normally love to do, but this group has really embraced that.
Yeah, usually you'll see an offensive line that has a high-tempo offense, a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker. We're the opposite. We're big, we're powerful, and we're quick. This is a very powerful and dangerous offensive line. The quarterback, the running backs, and the wide receivers, they got to love lining up with these 5 guys in front of them. It's going to make the offense go.
And there's 3 guys returning from the starting lineup from last year in this offensive line unit, but Coach Williams talked about today, there's 10 guys that could start. And just talk about how important that is, and what impact does that make to have 10 guys that you can rotate in and out of the offensive line position when you want to go this fast?
Yeah, we have 2 seniors, Cortez Hibbler and Michael Gibbs, right tackle and right guard from last season that have gotten a lot of preseason honors so far this year, all conference and all American recognitions a little bit. But it's more than just those 2 guys. There's 8 more guys that can go in, fill in those 2 roles on the right side of the offensive line, slide down to center, play on the left side. Being able to have the versatility that this offensive line has is going to be key to our offense. We can block for the quarterback. Tyler's going to be able to find the open wide receivers. We create open running lanes for the guys who we're going to have running the ball. Tim Floyd, DeJuan Belair, Justin MacArthur. It's going to be key.
And Coach Williams kind of talked about it earlier today, the fact that this group's goal every game is to go unnoticed, and that's something offensive linemen take pride in, because when they're going unnoticed, the other guys are getting the recognition. And Coach Williams also talked about how this is probably the most talented group he's had as a coach for 30 years, and that's got to be high praise, isn't it?
Yeah, when you have a coach who's as decorated as Coach Williams is, and he's been in this game for over 30 years on the collegiate level, to say that this is the most talented group he's had as a coach, that's high praise right there. That's probably all these guys need to hear, is that their coach thinks that they can be the best that he's ever coached.
Let's switch it over to the defensive side of things. Coach Kelvin Green talked to us today earlier. What were your kind of takeaway from him talking about his group that's not maybe as experienced, but it's kind of getting there early in camp?
Well, the defensive line, Diego Lubin returns at one of the defensive ends. He led the team in sacks last year, was 3rd on the team in tackles for loss. But it's more than just him at defensive end. He preached the same thing that Joel Williams preached about the depth. We have multiple layers to this defensive line, 1st team, 2nd team, 3rd team, that are just as quick, just as aggressive, just as mean, and ready to make names for themselves.
And it's interesting they kind of go with the 3-4-5, I believe is what it is.
3-3-5.
3-3-5. That's kind of a unique situation for these defensive linemen. You're going to have a strong nose tackle and strong bookends. And does this group kind of show that's kind of coming through here in year 2?
Yeah, in year 2, you can see that there's a couple of the players that have been cross-trained to play tackle, nose tackle, and also defensive end. Some of the bigger guys are able to play both. So we can stand up to the running game that some of these other schools in the Gulf South Conference are going to throw at us. But when they have to try to throw, we're just going to work them to death, have our defense ends getting around the outside of their offensive tackle, and look for our defense to play as aggressive as some teams' offense. We're going to look to change the field, cause a lot of havoc, create turnovers, and look to score points also on that side of the ball.
And Coach Green also talked about key contributions to expect from this year's team. Latrell Peterson, a name to follow this year. QT Reynolds. Just talk about these guys and their role coming into this offense, or this defense, and maybe making more pressure on these quarterbacks as guys are now bigger and stronger and faster.
These 2 guys that you mentioned, they're both junior college transfers. They have enough playing time at the prior stops. They're not freshmen. They are experienced veterans of the trenches. It just adds that 2nd and 3rd team that we can play. And Coach Green mentioned when we were talking to him earlier, every 5 or 6 plays is going to look to do kind of like you see in hockey, just a complete line change. That way we constantly have the aggressor out there. If we don't cause the offense to do a 3 and out, well, now they're on their 2nd series of the drive. Why have a tired defensive end out there? We can bring in another guy who's just as good, just as talented, just as mean and hungry, and he hasn't been out there for 4 plays taking a beating. So it's going to be a constant revolving door, and it's just going to be one of those next man up situations. Whoever's the most aggressive on the field is going to get the playing time, and if you need a breather, the next person comes in behind you, just as capable.
That'll do it for another edition of Inside Camp Delta today. We broke down the offensive line. Tomorrow we'll have more information for you, but you've been joined by Scott Wyant and James Vallone. We'll be back for more tomorrow. Thank you.